For this video, I invited my husband to join me today, and together we'll be revealing the truth about cost of living in Valencia in 2024. We'll go over our monthly expenses so that you can get an idea of how much you can spend if you decide to move to Valencia. So let's get started. So first of all, tell me, how do you feel after moving from the US to Valencia in terms of prices and expenses?
I mean, overall, I'm much happier here. I think your money goes definitely a lot farther than it does in the United States. The thing is, when you're in the States, everything is very expensive nowadays there. And so if you actually want to have like a high quality of life, you need to spend a lot. Whereas here, I mean, for the amount that you would spend for just a normal kind of, average cost of living in the United States, you can live very well here. And so I think that's the big difference is your money goes a lot farther and you just have a higher quality of life for the same kind of budget, essentially.
Yeah, I still cannot get used to the fact that there are so many free activities here in Valencia, and going out and having a cup of coffee in the morning is just part of the culture. There are so many breakfast deals where you can order a pastry or a sandwich with a cup of coffee just for around $3. And I just remember buying two coffees and a pastry in Starbucks, and it was $20.
Yeah. Yeah, Starbucks is way more expensive than the local cafes here. So much nicer here where you can go to a local cafe and you don't have to spend crazy amounts of money. I mean, you can get a coffee for €1.50 more or less. And it's just really nice because you can treat yourself more and actually enjoy the city without spending crazy amounts of money like you would have to in America. Also, there's no tipping culture here, and so you don't have to leave a 20% tip anytime you go to a restaurant. So it's much more affordable.
But the rent prices are not as cheap as they used to be. I don't know if you can actually find apartments in Valencia for 800 or 900 euros, which is equivalent to around $900. Maybe in the outskirts still yes, but in the city center it's impossible. A friend of ours used to rent an apartment in the city center, and she paid 2,000 euros. That's what, $2,200, and I don't think the utilities were included in the price. So if you're on the budget, then you should look more in the suburbs of Valencia or just neighborhoods that are not right in the city center. Let's actually start with the rent, because this is the biggest expense of any expat. And to make it more understandable, we'll be converting all the amounts from euros to USD dollars. So for our rent, we pay $1,213, and this is for two-bedroom apartment. We actually got very lucky with it, because in the beginning it was supposed to be just a short-term rent for a couple months, but we just showed to our landlords that we were able to pay on a monthly basis and they can trust us, and that we are a good tenant, and they agreed to make a long-term contract, and this is how we stayed in this short-term rental. But this is not a very usual thing. Usually it's very hard to find something for long-term rent in Spain. They ask you a bunch of documents, and sometimes if you cannot satisfy their requirements regarding the finances or regarding the stable income, then you have to pay for 6 or even 12 months upfront for the rent, which is very hard and very surprising fact, because not everybody will have such a big amount of money on their bank account to show or to pay in advance for the rent.
So we don't live in the city center, but we live near it, and we're about 15 minutes away by metro. And so it is a very convenient area that we live. There's all kinds of shops and local restaurants and cafes here. So we pretty much have everything that we need right next to us. And that's the nice thing. So that is what I would recommend if you're looking for a place that is cheaper, where you have the best of both worlds, where you can easily access the city center, but still have everything that you need right nearby.
Yeah, the most important thing is actually, I think, living next to the metro station or maybe to some kind of direct bus line to the city center. And that is enough, believe me, because everything is in a walking distance: school, hospitals, supermarkets, all the bars, all the convenience stores, everything. So you really will be going probably to the city center just for fun on the weekends, and you have everything in your neighborhood.
And personally, I don't really think you want to live in the city center either, because it's super noisy there. We've heard that like during Las Fallas time, it's like crazy. And yeah, whenever there's like celebrations, it's super noisy. And I think just generally it's going to be a lot noisier. So yeah, I really think the best option here is to live outside of the city center, but somewhere nearby a metro line.
So moving on next to the utilities cost. So for utilities, we pay $165. That includes water, electricity, garbage, and the building maintenance cost. We were actually very worried, especially me, during the summer, because I didn't know what the electricity cost will be, because we had the air conditioning just non-stop on during the summertime, even during the day and during the night every day. But I think we spent like around $100 for the usage of it.
I remember you were like, "Oh, it's going to be $1,000 or something crazy." Like you thought
Yeah,
it was going to be
I
like
mean, not
ridiculous,
1,000, but
but
yeah,
yeah,
still,
some
I thought
crazy
it would
amount.
be 500 or something. I mean, electricity in Europe is
And
just generally more expensive. That's why I was freaking out a bit.
but it wasn't too bad. And most of the air conditioning units also have like eco mode as well, so it actually doesn't take up as much electricity as you would think. But you definitely want to ideally move into a place that has air conditioning here in Valencia, because it does get very hot and humid, especially in the summertime.
So for internet and mobile connection, we spent $33. Internet is covered by our landlord, so I don't know exactly how much we pay, but on average, it's something around $25. For mobile connection, we pay $33 for both of our lines in Orange, and we get 50 gigabytes of 5G internet. It's actually more than enough, and I think we probably even in the future should downgrade a bit, because we are not using that much data, and we can even pay less than that. So for the groceries, we spent $700, and that includes buying stuff like soap, toothpaste, laundry detergent, all this stuff for cleaning and for the house. And I cannot say that we are restricting ourselves in something. We just go to the store and we just buy whatever we want to eat or to buy. In the US, on the contrary, I was making a list and I was planning more what meals I will be cooking and what we should order and buy. We were more careful with our groceries expenses over there than we are here.
So the other thing is, as you said, we don't really restrict ourselves a lot here. We don't really have like a super strict grocery budget or anything like that, because everything is quite affordable. And the big difference, I'd say, is that your money goes a lot farther for the kind of quality of food that you get. So, I buy a lot of different, steaks here and different things. I'm on more of like a keto diet here, and that would be way more expensive in America. But here you're able to actually get really good quality, fresh produce here, and all kinds of good fruits and vegetables and meats and everything for a very affordable price. Whereas in America, you'd have to basically buy organic food in Whole Foods and spend like 3 times more if you want to get the same quality of food, I think.
By the way, I made a video where I compared the grocery prices in the US and in Spain. I will leave the link for you in the description below this video for you to check it out. So for transportation, we spend $60. We don't have a car, and honestly, we don't need it right now because, as we mentioned, everything is in the walking distance from our house. And if we want to go to the city center, we just use the metro that is nearby. Or if we want to travel to other places and cities in Spain, we just jump on the bus, or we use trains that are very affordable as well. The public transport, the infrastructure generally here in Valencia is amazing. There are a lot of bike lanes, there are a lot of bus lines and metro lines, and it's very affordable as well. You can get a card which is called Suma 10. You're getting 10 rides for the price of €5. It will be a little bit more in dollars, like 5.50 maybe, something like that. But for the first time you buy it for €5 because it comes with a card. But once you have this card, you just renew it and you will be paying less, around $4-ish for 10 rides, which is very affordable here. You can use this card as well for metro or bus or even tram. It works the same for every kind of public transport. This $60 includes occasional taxi rides. On average, it is around $13. Moving on to healthcare. So right now it is $0 for us as an expense. We are in a process of getting our paperwork sorted out and we don't have insurance yet.
But once we do get insurance, basically as soon as we get our paperwork, it'll be $88 a month, and that will include healthcare for both Marie and I. So it's much more affordable than a private insurance in the States, for example.
Yeah, and for example, if you won't be contributing to Social Security and you are arriving to Spain on non-lucrative visa and you need to have a private insurance to get that visa in the first place, you will be paying on average $60, and that will cover everything without any co-payments. So this covers our basic needs. In total for a couple, it is $2,170 to round it up. But of course, you will have some miscellaneous costs as well. You will want to go out or to movies or to travel to buy something. So for additional expenses, we factor in gym membership and we pay $65 for both of us. We are lucky because we have a big gym nearby, and this price includes the swimming pool, just gym access, and also access to all the fitness classes that they offer. So for restaurants and going out, we have a monthly budget of $250. We don't go out too often, maybe once a week to have some kind of lunch or dinner, and maybe twice per week to have coffee with pastry. Of course, that price can change a bit. When we have guests, we tend to spend a little bit more, but going out in Spain is not that expensive comparing to the US, for example. Light breakfast can be around $3-4 per person. Brunch with coffee is $10. For lunch, there are multiple menu del dia options, and you can pay around $14-15 per person. And for dinner, $25 with a glass of wine. Here in Valencia, there are plenty of cafes and restaurants that are cool and modern, and I personally find a lot of different cuisines to try. There are, by the way, a lot of Italians who come to work here and they open their own businesses. So there are a lot of restaurants with good pizza, pasta dishes, other type of Italian dishes, and it's very authentic and very delicious.
Way better than the food in America, by the way, the pizza or the pasta that we have in the States. And there's even places like buffets, all-you-can-eat buffets that are like €13 during the weekdays and like €15 on the weekend. So it is very affordable to go out to eat, especially if you know where to go. So that is another big advantage. And again, you don't have to pay for the tips here like you do in the States. So that's another place where you save.
Such a relief.
Yeah.
So for entertainment, we put a budget of $50. But as I mentioned, there are a lot of free activities as well here. All museums on Sundays are free, and you can just go for a walk. There is a big park, Turia, or just ride a bike. For movie theater, for the tickets, you spend around $20 for a couple. And for example, some exhibitions, we went on Salvador Dali exhibition of the painter and we paid $24 for that. In November, we want to go for a show and the tickets will be around $27 for both of us.
They also do nonstop celebrations here. That's the thing that's so funny. We joke that like every single day there's a new celebration. Like they're celebrating, I don't know, some national saint day of some obscure saint, or they're celebrating some, what is it, like National
National
Metro
Day of
Day,
Paella. Yeah.
paella, yeah, like all kinds of random celebrations that they have. And so it's like, seems like every day there's some other kind of celebration,
And
but
it's free.
it's free, yeah. So that is the thing. There's a lot to do. You can always go out and there's going to be something happening. And
Yeah.
so entertainment is very affordable here if you want to actually just have something to do. There's always stuff to do here in the city.
And we don't feel like we are spending a lot for entertainment here.
Right.
So with beauty expenses, it fluctuates a bit because we, for example, don't need to do our haircut every month. As a monthly expense, I have a manicure. It's $28. It is below average the price. If you go to a nail salon or a beauty salon, you will spend around $40. For haircut for women with washing, it will be around $35. Facial is around $60, and full body massage around $50 for an hour. And what about you? How much do you spend for your haircut?
I think my last haircut was around $25 more or less. Around $20 to $25 is what typical men's haircut will cost.
So traveling, buying some gifts or clothes, we put into a personal category, and it actually fluctuates every month, so we don't have a specific budget for it. But shopping is very affordable here in Valencia. There are big sales that are twice per year during the winter time and during the summertime. And there are just a lot of stores with jewelry, with clothes, with shoes. Of course, for shopping of luxurious brands, if it's something you're into, you should probably go to Madrid or Barcelona, because there are not a lot of stores with brand goods here. But still, the quality of shoes and clothes here in Valencia is very good. They use natural material like linen or leather, and they all come with affordable prices.
Traveling in Europe is also much more affordable than in America. So you can have cheap Ryanair flights that are like 20 euros here, and it's a really good deal. And it's like an hour to an hour and a half, and you're already in another country. So that is the nice thing. Everything is very accessible, and it's also more affordable.
So summarizing, for miscellaneous expenses, we have a budget of $400 monthly, and that fluctuates depending on if we're having guests, or if we are having a big vacation that month, or just doing some daily trips on the weekends. So in conclusion, if not to take into account miscellaneous expenses, we spend monthly around $2,563, and with personal expenses, which can really vary person to person, we spend $2,963, and we can round it up to $3,000 monthly expenses.
So those are our expenses as a couple living in Valencia. Now, we don't have kids and we don't have a car, so that reduces our expenses. But the nice thing is you don't actually need a car here in Europe, so that also reduces your expenses. The other thing is our money goes a lot further here than it did in the States. Like the amount that we spend now would just be bare minimum in the United States, and that would be like extreme budgeting. Whereas here, we actually live very well, and we live much more comfortably than we ever did in the United States.
You tell us in the comments if it's a lot or it's the same as you pay in your home country as a couple. And we hope we gave you some ideas of what the prices are here in Spain and how much you would spend in Valencia as a couple. Don't forget to subscribe, leave thumbs up to this video, and as always, I see you next week. Hasta pronto!